I need a seatbelt. This is dangerous.
Get on with it. It's rolling.
Oh. Article 1, Section 3 of the Constitution of the United States of America. The Senate of the United States shall be composed of 2 senators from each state, chosen by the legislature thereof for 6 years. And each senator shall have 1 vote. Immediately after they shall be assembled in consequence of the first election, they shall be divided as equally as may be into 3 classes. Seats of the senators of the first class shall be vacated at the expiration of the 2nd year, of the 2nd class at the expiration of the 4th year, and of the 3rd class at the expiration of the 6th year, so that 1/3 may be chosen every 2nd year, and if vacancies happen by resignation or otherwise during the recess of the legislature of any state, the executive thereof may make temporary appointments until the next meeting of the legislature, which shall then fill such vacancies. No person shall be a senator who shall not have attained to the age of 30 years and been 9 years a citizen of the United States, and who shall not, when elected, be an inhabitant of that state for which he shall be chosen. Vice President of the United States shall be President of the Senate, but shall have no vote unless they be equally divided. The Senate shall choose their other officers, and also a President pro tempore, in the absence of the Vice President, or when he shall exercise the office of President of the United States. The Senate shall have the sole power to try all impeachments. When sitting for that purpose, they shall be on oath or affirmation. When the President of the United States is tried, the Chief Justice shall preside, and no person shall be convicted without the concurrence of 2/3 of the members present. Judgment in cases of impeachment shall not extend further than to removal from office and disqualification to hold and enjoy any office of honor, trust, or profit under the United States. But the party convicted shall nevertheless be liable and subject to indictment, trial, judgment, and punishment according to the law. Easy enough, but let's make it easier. Okay, guys, the first Senate had 26 senators starting in 1789. 1/3, about 8, had a 2-year term, but upon election or re-election of that seat, it was for 6 years moving forward. 1/3 had a 4-year term, but upon re-election or election of that seat, it was forever 6 years. And 1/3 was for 6 years. All senators have a 6-year term, but the term never changes. In order for the Senate to remain a stable body, they are divided into classes. Each class has their elections at the same time, so if a senator retires or is replaced, that term will only be until the class that seat is in's term is up. So if a senator is replaced 3 years into his term, the replacement only serves for 3 years or the remainder of the 6-year term. No state has both senators in the same class to continue continuity of government. The Senate is nicknamed the Never-Ending House. The current classes expiring are Class 3 in 2023, Class 1 in 2025, Class 2 in 2027. The classes never change. No state has both senators in the same class. The reason for this is the Senate is supposed to be a continuous body, unlike the House of Representatives, which is completely replaced every 2 years. The House is supposed to be volatile, following trends, respond to the population. The Senate is supposed to be the reverse, steady, stable, and unmoving. The House moves all bills. The Senate is supposed to be more steady, slower, and more deliberate. It's intended to keep the country from collapsing because of a trending topic. You will see when we get to Article 2 that the founders had a few tricks up their sleeves when it came to elections. As it was written, the House was direct election by you. The Senate had a buffer between you and the senator in that the senators were elected by the state legislatures, which you had elected. This was changed by the 17th Amendment. The president had another unique way of being elected, the Electoral College. This, too, was another way of preventing tyranny. Each senator has to be 30 years old, a citizen of the state they're elected in, and have been a citizen of the United States for 9 years. At the time, the legislatures of the states elected the senators, and the governors would replace a senator temporarily if the state legislature was not in session. This was changed by the 17th Amendment, which converted the election to direct election of the senators by their state's population. In 1912, the governors now fill a vacancy until a special election can be held or until the next general election. In any case, the senator elected will be only for the term of their class. All classes remain stable, otherwise this will be one hot mess by now. The Vice President of the United States is the the President of the Senate, but has no vote unless the Senate is tied. Senators choose their officers, and a special officer called the President pro tempore. This person serves as a mediator for the Senate only in the absence of the Vice President of the United States, who operates as the President of the Senate. However, the President pro tempore does not cast tie-breaking votes. The President pro tempore does not have to be a senator, but has traditionally been the longest-serving senator in the majority party. Both the Vice President and the President pro tempore act for the Senate exactly like the Speaker of the House does for the House, except the President pro tempore has no special status in the line of succession. The House of Representatives are the only ones who can start an impeachment, but the Senate is tasked with trying all impeachments. The people, i.e. the House, vote for the impeachment. The states, i.e. the Senate, try the case. It takes a vote of 2/3 of the Senate to be convicted in an impeachment. You see, that is why someone can be impeached, but not removed from office. If the House votes to impeach someone, but the Senate tries the case and does not convict the person, it is roughly the same as being charged with a crime and found innocent. It isn't a criminal case in any event. It is political. In the case of a presidential impeachment, and only that case, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court must act as judge. It's pretty gray otherwise, but they have acted as judge in other impeachments. The Senate is also charged with advice and consent. This is part of the checks and balances in the federal government. The Senate must ratify all treaties with a 2/3 majority vote. It confirms all other appointments, such as ambassadors, cabinet members, federal judges, and even Supreme Court justices with a simple majority vote of just 51 votes. You may have heard of the kitchen cabinet. First Republican president, Abraham Lincoln, faced terrible resistance from the mostly Democrat-run Senate, who refused to seat any of his cabinet nominations. So he seated whoever they wanted him, then had an informal cabinet of his own choosing who met with him in the White House kitchen to advise him. Just a little trivia. However, every action in the Senate can be debated, and unlike the House, the debate has no time limit. The minority of senators, or even one senator, can force a 60 vote 3/5 by filibustering, which is basically just continuing to speak until the supermajority votes to close that discussion. Filibuster does not have to be about the topic on the table. Any senator can address the rest of the body for as long as he or she wishes about anything at all, as long as they keep talking. It is generally used to stop or at least slow down legislation that would be detrimental to one or very few states that would pass otherwise. The track record on its effectiveness is so-so. Sometimes the Senate takes action to change the legislation, sometimes not. Senators have sang, recited hip-hop lyrics, won, read Shakespeare, and even just telling gossip. In any event, it takes 60 votes to stop it. So basically, you have the people with the House of Representatives who start all bills. Every law must be started by the people. And the states with the Senate. Every law must be considered by the Senate before being sent back to the House to be amended or sent on to the President to be approved or vetoed. The people are preeminent always, but the states come second, then the federal government. That is the way it was intended. It is the way we prevent tyranny. The people reign supreme. You are the government in this country. As always, please keep the dirty side down, and thank you for watching my channel.